The rain came down like the sky was breaking apart. Isabella Carter stood frozen on the sidewalk, her expensive heels tapping uselessly against the wet pavement. Just hours ago, the glass tower in front of her had been hers, her name glowing in silver across the top floor, a symbol of everything she had built over 20 relentless years. Now, the lights were off. The doors were closed. And the security guards who once greeted her with respect wouldn't even meet her eyes. In a single day, her entire world had collapsed. Before we go further, take a quick moment, like this story, share it with someone who believes in kindness, and subscribe if you believe even one small act of compassion can change a life forever. And in the comments, tell us, do you believe kindness still matters? Her name had once carried power. Isabella Carter, the unstoppable entrepreneur. The woman who turned a tiny startup into a billion-dollar empire. Magazine covers, investor admiration, global recognition, she had it all. To the world, she was success itself, but success has a side no one talks about. Behind the polished image was a woman who hadn't slept properly in years. A woman who missed birthdays, skipped holidays, and slowly lost every meaningful relationship she once had. Her marriage didn't end with a fight, it ended with silence. One day, her husband simply looked at her and said, "I don't know who you are anymore." Still, she kept going, because she believed if she just worked harder, achieved more, proved herself stronger, the emptiness would disappear. It never did, and then, everything fell apart. It started quietly, numbers that didn't add up, reports that didn't feel right. One of her most trusted partners had been hiding the truth. Millions moved in secret. Lies buried deep in financial statements. By the time Isabella uncovered it, the damage was already done. The board turned on her overnight. Lawyers replaced colleagues. Accusations replaced trust. And within days, the company she built with her own hands was no longer hers. The media didn't wait for the truth. Headlines spread like wildfire: scandal, betrayal, downfall. Her name was dragged through speculation before she could even speak. Investors disappeared. Friends went silent. Her penthouse? Gone, tied to the company she no longer controlled. By nightfall, she had nothing. That's how she ended up standing in the rain, watching strangers walk in and out of the building that used to define her entire life. She didn't feel anger, she felt empty. For the first time in decades, there was no plan. No meeting. No next step, just silence. Hours passed before she finally started walking. No destination. No direction. Just movement. The city felt unfamiliar now, cold, distant, indifferent. Eventually, she stopped outside a small convenience store, stepping into a narrow, brightly lit hallway to escape the rain, and that's where she saw him. A man in a janitor's uniform, quietly mopping the floor. He looked tired, maybe in his late 30s, but there was something calm about him. Nearby, a little girl sat on a plastic chair, drawing in a notebook, her feet swinging gently. The man noticed Isabella, immediately soaked. Shivering. Broken. He didn't ask questions. He didn't stare. He simply walked over, picked up a clean towel from his cart, and handed it to her. "Here," he said softly. Isabella hesitated for a second, then took it. "Thank you," she whispered. The little girl looked up and gave her a shy wave. Isabella, for the first time that day, managed a faint smile. "Do you want to sit?" the man asked gently. She nodded. The plastic chair felt strange beneath her, so simple, so ordinary. Yet somehow, more peaceful than any office she had sat in for years. The man returned to his work, occasionally glancing at his daughter with quiet care. Isabella watched them, really watched, the way he spoke softly to her, the way she smiled just because he looked at her. It was such a small moment, but it felt powerful. After a while, He returned with a cup of hot tea from a vending machine and handed it to her. The warmth spread through her hands, and suddenly, everything she had been holding back broke. Tears slipped down her face. She didn't even try to stop them. The man didn't interrupt. Didn't question. He simply sat nearby, offering something rare. Space without judgment. Eventually, Isabella spoke, not about money, not about business, but about feeling lost, about building a life so full, yet so empty, about giving everything, and still feeling like she had nothing. When she finished, the man nodded quietly. Then he said something simple: "Sometimes life takes everything away, so we can see what actually matters." She looked at him, surprised. He continued, "I lost my job years ago. Thought my life was over. Then I lost my wife too. It was just me and her," he said, glancing at his daughter. "I kept thinking I had nothing left. But I was wrong." He smiled gently. "I still had her. I still had kindness. And sometimes, that's enough to start again." The words hit her harder than anything she had ever heard, because deep down, she knew he was right. She had built an empire, but she had lost everything that made life meaningful along the way. And yet, here was a man with so little, who had something she had never found. Peace. As the rain began to fade outside, something inside Isabella shifted. Not a plan, not a strategy. A realization. She had lost everything, but she could still begin again. When she finally stood to leave, she thanked him quietly. He just smiled, as if it were nothing. To him, she was just a stranger who needed help, but to her, he was the turning point of her life. Weeks passed. Slowly, Isabella started rebuilding, not her empire, but her purpose. This time, she didn't chase wealth, she created something different. A foundation to help single parents find stability, jobs, and support. It started small, but it felt real. For the first time, her work meant something beyond success. Months later, she returned to that same hallway. The man was still there, still working, his daughter, still drawing, but this time, Isabella introduced herself and told him everything, how that one moment, his kindness, changed her path. He was surprised, almost confused. "It was just a towel," he said. Isabella smiled. "No," she replied softly. "It was everything." She offered him a role in her foundation, helping families like his. At first, he hesitated. "I'm not qualified," he admitted. "You are," she said. "More than anyone." And he accepted. Years later, people spoke about Isabella Carter's rise again, but this time, it wasn't about billions. It was about lives changed, families supported, hope restored, and at the center of it all, was a janitor who once gave a broken woman a towel, and reminded her what truly matters. Before you go, take a moment, type kindness in the comments if you believe even the smallest act can change a life. Because the truth is, sometimes, the people who change us the most, are the ones the world barely sees, and sometimes, it only takes a few seconds of kindness to rebuild an entire future.